Welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. I'm Carolyn McDonald and I'm here with Michelle Salcedo to talk about her film Bye Bye Barbarito. Let's take a look at a clip.
No sé dónde va a parar tu amor.
Es un cuento nada más, amor. Soñemos hasta el final, porque amor.
¡Barbarito!
Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us about the inspiration for this really heartwarming and very funny film.
Well, it was written by Susanna Drisi, and she had a real bird. And during the pandemic, everyone was sharing their birds on screen. And she took out Stinky. Stinky's the name of the original cockatiel. And Stinky took the opportunity to decide to fly away, which was very sad at that point. But it was during the pandemic, and everyone was so bound by being just captive in their own home. And so there were a lot of Stinky sightings around the neighborhood. But the last place that she saw Stinky was at a train station. And so her and her daughters settled with the fact that Barbarito is traveling through Europe, backpacking to this day, just flying around because it just wanted to be free. So that was the inspiration. And for me, Romelia is so much like a lot of my aunts, sort of trapped in the cage of domesticity. And so I just wanted to bring to light that sort of generation of older women. And so that's where Barbarito inspiration came from.
Yeah, it's a really, really lovely, heartwarming film. And so the scripting process of creating this character and the dynamic with her husband, because to me, it was a core of liberation theme.
Sure, absolutely, yes. It's I think our copy line is "Set yourself free," because it is about self-empowerment, and it's also inspired by some neighbors of the writer who they knew as an older couple, and when the husband passed away, they couldn't help but notice how much happier the wife was, which was a terrible thing to say, but it's not, and it was not out of lack of love. It was just because they were free to go beyond sort of that caretaker role, and I think women, men, anyone can really relate to this. When you are ready to sort of follow your own dreams, and how it doesn't matter what age, you still have that passion for a new dream, and that's very much what Romelia wants.
Right. She wanted to go to Italy. She was doing the things of going to Italy. That was so beautiful, really, really cool and clever. So talk about the process of production.
Yes, I had never worked with an animal before. Well, I worked with my own dog in one of my features, but other than that, I didn't have like an official animal wrangler, and I had never worked with an animal before. So we actually found feathered, I can't remember what their name is, I think it's Four Feathered Friends. We found this foundation that really dedicates their time to saving birds. So they're a rescue foundation. And we worked with a really lovely woman who is so used to cockatiels, and she has many of them, and she takes care of them. So we cast the cockatiel through her, and she was able to find this one that was really outgoing, and his name was Elton. Yes, and Elton was just marvelous, and and because the owner was there with the bird was really comfortable. So if we had to have it fly away, it was really only to her hand, and she was right outside the window. So there was a lot of tricks like that. And we did do a little VFX. So we did a blue screen, very small blue screen, which was nice. And so we just had the bird fly from a structure to her, and then we superimposed that into the footage, and so it was great. We had a combination of practical effects and VFX to make the magic. And for me, it was really important to have the POV of the bird represented. So for me, that's why it was important to have the drone shots.
I saw that, yeah. I like the way you used that too, and looking down at the human.
Yes. Yes, because it's a lot about, like you said, the theme is liberation, and whether it's her liberation from her husband, also the bird's liberation from the human owner. And this idea that we put these animals that are just so free into cages is kind of a wild thing that we do as humans, and if the bird had its way, would it fly away?
Exactly. And also I noticed the distinct relationship between the lead actress character and the bird. There was something that was very bonded. Talk about that.
Sure.
And Elton.
Well, it was, it's funny because we cast Pamola Morales as Romelia just because of her fiery energy, and these are her dresses that we use for the role, and she's just so lively and so festive all the time, and she loves to dance, and so when I said, we have this story about a bird, assuming she had birds or had been around birds, but she had never held a bird before.
Really?
Yes. So she really bonded with Elton, and Elton really trusted her, and she just has this wonderful energy, and I think Elton really picked up on that. So the chemistry was instantaneous.
Wow, how great is that? How really great is that? Because they always say don't work with animals and children.
Yes.
To be able to
Yes.
pull off, steal that. But yeah, it was great. So talk about the other elements of the physical production, with your crew and, where did you shoot and how long did it take you to shoot?
Sure. We only had 2.5 days to shoot,
Wow,
and we had a
really?
pretty tight budget of $30,000, which it sounds like a lot of money, but really isn't when you shoot in Los Angeles and when you shoot SAG production that also we were fully permitted. So we shot in Inglewood. The writer her parents lived there, and so they actually lent us their real house, and I fell in love with the location, which is the writer's house, because it did feel like a birdhouse. It had these really neat rooms with half doors and this little window. I was like, she looks like she's a bird in her own home. So I said, this is perfect. There was a lot of indoor, outdoor, beautiful greens. So it's challenging. Sometimes it sounds like, it's so much easier to shoot in your own house, but it is actually just shot another production in my own house. And it isn't easy because you really have to move all of the furniture out and move it all back in and make sure you don't break anything in the process. And we were such a tiny little crew, so we really had just a few people in order to pull this off. Because when you're shooting in someone's real home, the spaces are tight. And so we had a wonderful director, photographer, Gareth Taylor, that I've worked with before on another project. And so we spent a lot of time talking about, Amelie was a huge inspiration. I love that movie. Really? And I love the way that each frame is composed and the use of color. So along with the colorist too, and a lot of it was also done before we even shot the film, sort of to start thinking about the transformation, because we knew we wanted to show her internal life externally through color and through composition. So we start off where she's looking outside, but then she turns and she goes into the house, and we kept the color scheme in the greens and grays to really capture not her sadness, but just sort of a drab and everyday routine has just lost the color of the newness of it. So when her husband dies, literally her reaction changes color in a single dolly zoom that we do, that we also change the color temperature, which was quite the challenge to pull off, because you're racking focus, changing color temperature, and moving in two directions at the same time. But we wanted to have that impactful feeling of a huge change in her life. And then from there on, we really had fun with color. Even in the funeral, we were bringing in color, whether in her lipstick, in her shoes, the red in her shoes. And we just started introducing more and more color as we got to the end. And it was really a joy to work with this colorist, Andrea Cheplack, and with Gareth Taylor, the DP, to really be very meticulous about the process of coloring. Sometimes when you think of digital, you don't think of that, but a lot of times the final process of printing is really replicated in the coloring process.
And it is the story. It's visual storytelling. All those things were a part of serving the story.
Yes,
not standing out in the story. It really served the story, very much like Amelie. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's a huge compliment. I'm a huge fan of that film. But yes, for me, it's if you're tipping the viewer, if you're showy, what a magnificent shot! It's so showy, or it's how the trickery. It has to serve story, because if not, you're not doing your job. If you notice that it's a single take, you're not doing your job. That's what I found out. That's what I loved about, like, for example, The Bear, watching one episode that was a long single take. I didn't realize it was a long single take until about 10 minutes into the shot, where I was like, wait a second, we haven't cut once, because you're so enthralled with the characters and you're just going along with the story and with emotion. I don't like to call attention to the, how to how to make the sausage, so to speak, you know, like the factory of it. So
I get it, and it's wonderful like that. I totally, got that, and noticed that, the visuals of it. So tell me, in the whole process of making this film, what was the biggest lesson you learned that you'd like to pass on to other filmmakers?
Well, I think, what lesson? There's always so many lessons you learn. I mean, I think for this one, it was difficult because I also produced it. I mean, I didn't produce it alone. I had a lot of help, but I think there was a lot that was on my plate that it's fun to just only focus on directing and to try to delegate more. And I think because I was worried about the logistics of production and some things were a little bit behind that I shouldn't have been worried about, because if I was producing it, if I wasn't producing it, somebody else would be taking care of those details so that I could then be free to create but something always happens. So, it's hard to predict. There's always going to be there's only so much planning that you can do. But I also think just to look at each challenge as an opportunity for creativity. Sometimes having limits in your choices and knowing that you're running out of time really makes the movie sometimes better. Not having all the time in the world, not having all the resources. I remember we were running out of time and light because we shot this in the wintertime, so we had short days. And originally there was a scene with a dog in an office and where the dog has fleas. And originally the dog was just supposed to be referred to, and then there was this whole bit about the chair having fleas. But it ended up being that we could only shoot the whole thing in the landing when she arrives, and that actually made the scene so much funnier because we kept the dog in the scene the entire time. And so it was this great looking pug. And so that having the lack of resources and running out of time actually made the film better.
I see.
So sometimes it works out that way.
Right, great advice. Really, really great advice. Well, thank you for coming to talk to us today. I really appreciate you coming to share your story about making the film and working with Elton and the colors. Really, really lighthearted film.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really a joy. I mean, for me, it's important to talk about things like mourning, because at the end of the day, it really is about her coming to terms with the mourning of her husband. So I think it's a joy when you can do that in a way that is respectful but still comedic, to make light of these everyday life dramas and everyday life tragedies. If we can relate to them and laugh about them, it just makes life feel more livable and more present.
Absolutely, absolutely. And others can relate and take on that.
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer.
There's so much joy in celebrating people's lives. Even when they pass, and bringing them back, because there was a lot of that message
in that. Yeah.
No spoiler alerts, but that's part of it.
All righty, thank you so much, Michelle. And where can we follow you?
You can follow me at Michelle Salcedo Farnham, and that's Farnham is Farnham, and Michelle Salcedo is Salcedo. I kind of did that backwards, but I think it makes sense.
All righty, thanks so much.